How's my clap?
Pretty good. Hey, Dave, how we doing?
Hey there, buddy. How we doing?
Hello and welcome to episode 47 of the Long Shot Podcast. I'm your host, Duncan Robinson, and I'm here with my good friend, my co-host, and we're in the Big Apple. Davis, Patrick, Reid. Davis, how we doing?
I'm great. This is a new setup for us.
It is.
I don't know whether I look at camera 1, 2, 3, just stare into your eyes the whole time.
We have 3 cameras. We have 2 mics. We have a beautiful backdrop here for those watching on YouTube. We also have some nice room decor.
Let's paint a picture
with some painting. And we're actually in the, as I mentioned, we're in the big city, the Big Apple, New York City. I had the opportunity to scoot up here a couple days early before our game on Friday against the New York Knicks. Just up here doing some podcast stuff, working out.
How'd you scoot up here?
Just hopped on a plane and came on up. It was a nice trip, straight from Miami to New York, direct flight, which was great.
Just direct? Oh, it was direct.
It was direct flight. They don't have a layover.
They don't do layovers in those planes.
I did fly privately.
There we go.
That did happen. It was not an initiative that I took.
We don't need to have disclaimers. I think we just leave it.
Well, I think if you're going to make me bring it up, I think it's important to provide the entirety of the context. I came up here early with a couple teammates. We all flew up privately. It was a good experience. I don't know if you want me to expand on it anymore.
I do.
It's not the first time I've ever flown privately. Obviously, we fly privately in between each city that we play in.
We flew privately together.
You and I also have flown privately together. Have we told that story before?
I honestly don't know if we have. This feels like an opportunity to.
Anyways, we could tell it.
Yeah, go on.
This summer, Davis and I flew privately to Las Vegas. Actually, back from Las Vegas. Once again, I didn't foot this bill either.
Correct.
So I've had some opportunities to fly private, and I haven't really had to dip into my pockets to do so.
That's all we're going to do.
No, actually, why don't you tell it? Go ahead.
Well, I was hoping the whole point is I'm trying to egg you on to tell it.
All right. I'll start it and I'll let you finish
pitch in when necessary because you're not going to tell them.
I was working out in LA this past summer and we had an opportunity that was sprung upon us last minute.
I was out there with you. This was my first. I had come out like a day earlier.
Yeah, Davis was with me in LA. We were going to do some podcast stuff. Obviously, I was training Monday through Saturday and just kind of getting my work in out there, locked in. We talked about this part at least.
Yeah. Okay, people get it. You were working hard. You were focused on basketball. All these things.
Anyways, we had a last second opportunity that was sprung upon us to go to Las Vegas, a city that I don't frequent often.
No, we don't need the disclaimers, Duncan. We get it. Fine. You were focused on basketball.
A dear friend of mine, shout out to Miles, is a manager of a prominent musician, DJ,
artist,
known as Kygo. Yes. I don't know if anybody knows Kygo. Maybe you've heard of him. I think he was #1 on Spotify for 2 years. No,
he has some big songs.
Anyways, we had an opportunity to go out to Vegas and to be at one of his shows, but really kind of get the full experience. And I'd never been to a Kygo show. I'm a fan of his music. We popped over there just on like the Jet X Burbank to Las Vegas, commercial flight, just your standard.
I don't want to interrupt because you're rolling, but I think it's important context that, like you said, you are not a weekend trip to Vegas guy. That's not really in your bag or something.
Either of us for that matter.
No, God, no, definitely not me. So while it was an amazing invitation and we understood how much fun it would be, we also weren't going to do it.
Yeah, we were like explaining away why we shouldn't go.
Because
we are who we are.
I'm worried about being good at basketball. I need to work out this weekend.
Mind you, this was like, what was this, June?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, it was
it's
the middle of
acceptable to go to Vegas for a weekend. So why did we go? I guess is what I'm getting to. We ultimately decided to go.
We ultimately decided to go because we got the promise that after the show, the next day, we could fly back with Miles and Kygo to LA because they were going to LA. So it made the decision significantly easier.
And they don't fly commercial.
They do not fly commercial.
Right, ever.
They don't fly Jet SX or whatever it was.
So then it was like, okay, well, how
that was kind of the icing on the cake. It was like, how are we not going to do this?
Yeah.
This was one of those opportunities where it's like, you kind of got to jump on. So anyways, we did that. This is an incredibly long tangent.
Yeah, what a way to open the episode.
Just point out the fact that I've flown private on other occasions.
I love it. Say it with your chest.
Anyways.
It was great. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. I look back on that weekend very fondly.
That's all I needed you to say.
It was good memories. But anyways, we're here in New York.
And we got here, you got here on another private jet, Duncan.
Maybe another goal for this show is to get to the point where you can expense a private flight.
1,000%.
That would be pretty cool. I'm sure, who are some of the top podcasts? I'm sure they're able to fly around.
I don't think Rogan's flying commercial.
He's certainly not.
If I had to
guess.
Dak
Shepard. Shout out to Armchair Expert.
Yeah.
Huge Armchair Expert fan, by the way.
Yeah, we're both armchairies.
I would love to be on the Armchair Expert at some point. I definitely don't fit the quota.
I think you do.
No way.
Yeah, because they're all about...
Look at the basketball players that they've had on. It's been like Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony.
They had Barack Obama on their podcast. Yeah. So yeah. But here's the thing. They're all about like human interest story, which you certainly fit the mold of, I
Potentially. Anyways, I'll do this again. We're here in New York. We play the Knicks.
How'd you get here? No, I'm just kidding.
We play the Knicks on Friday, which is exciting. We practice tomorrow as a team for the first time back from break on Thursday. I'll reiterate, I've been working out prior to our practice. I don't know why. I've never had...
People know.
Like I know, but I just want to say this. I've never been an Instagram workout guy. I've never been, post this, post that, live in the gym. I've just never been that guy. But people saying that my podcast gets in the way of that stuff makes me want to do that. And I don't ever want to do that.
Right.
But it's just like, I feel like I have to overcompensate for some stupid reason because people think that because I do tape a podcast for 45 minutes a week, that now all of a sudden, I'm not
it's
spending time in the gym. I hate how much we talk about this.
We've addressed this 100 times. That's why the caveat doesn't need to be there.
Change the subject.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need to be. Okay, I do want to know a little bit about what you did over All-Star break because last week you teased it very generically. I'm just hoping you're willing to divide. The whole point of this pod is to connect with the people.
True.
So I'm just curious, how was the All-Star break? Did you get to relax a little bit? People know that you're working out, but did you get away from basketball? Because I think that's important.
Before I do that, I just want to say, speaking of connecting with the people, I've certainly done so with my new Bball coin. For those of you out there who have Bball coin, you've clearly seen that. We gifted everybody with Bball coin a Top Shot moment.
Correct.
Of yours truly. We've given away some tickets and the Bball coin.
Some jerseys, some shoes.
We still got some other things that we're going to do. We're just giving away a bunch of shit. Yeah. So if you want...
You have more things than anyone needs.
Yes. And if you want free things from me, and maybe not always me, maybe you could get a Davis Reid beanie.
A signed beanie.
Or something. That would be pretty cool that you could probably get your hands on. So that's just my kind of plug for the Bball coin community because we have a Discord channel that's for, it's token gated, Bball coin users only. And it's popping in there, to say the least. Quick tangent. My mom called me 2 days ago, and she asked if I could send her some Bball coin.
Yes.
And she thought that it was actually physical coin. And that just opened a can of worms of trying to explain to your mother what cryptocurrencies are. And I love my mom. Like, she just started texting. It's 5 years ago, and that's not a shot at you.
She also texts in only emojis.
Yes, strictly emojis.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But yeah.
You know what you should have done is sent her like the batting cage coins, just like a bag of them. She's like, here you go, Mom.
Yeah, that's Bball coin.
Yeah.
But anyways, you asked about my trip over All-Star.
Yeah, whatever. I don't even really remember.
It was a great trip. I went to Turks and Caicos with my good friend Moritz Wagner, my girlfriend, and Moritz Wagner's girlfriend.
What a double date! Oh, man.
So we just had an elongated double date, the four of us. I will say Turks and Caicos is very relaxing, quiet. We stayed at an incredible spot. We actually, as a part of, we kind of got a discount, if you will, built into our stay if we hosted a basketball clinic on one of the nights. We were only there a couple nights, but if we hosted a basketball clinic on one of the nights, and Mo and I had no idea who are these people that are going to show up to this?
That's going to be my question.
And it ended up just being predominantly little children. But this resort was not like when you were looking around, there were no kids there. So I was like, because the clinic was on day 2, I kept looking around like, who is going to come to this? Like, this is going to be so
it would have been so great if it was like retired folks who are.
Well, there were some older people that showed up, and we actually also had another interaction. There were some other players at the resort. Evan Fournier was there,
nice,
and Marcus Smart was there. Funny enough, Evan and I kept joking about how like, and in 5 days we're going to be guarding each other,
right,
in New York, which is funny. But anyways. This guy, I guess everybody staying at the resort had gotten like some sort of email about there's being a clinic held by NBA players.
That was it. No names.
That was it.
Got it.
And Mo, Marcus, and I were all eating dinner one night, kind of in the general area. And this guy comes up and he's like, "Oh, Marcus Smart." He goes, "You must be doing the clinic." And Marcus goes, "No, that's these guys right here." And the guy looks at me, he goes, "He doesn't hoop."
No
he goes,
way.
"He doesn't play basketball." And I was just like, all right, that's how you feel?
The disrespect.
But here's the thing that was fascinating is he took it even a step further. He had no idea who I was. He had no idea who Mo was. And then he went on to say, he's like, "Well, is at least Evan Fournier going to be there?" I think he was a Knicks fan. And Marcus was like, "No, it's just these two guys." And he looks at us and he goes, "Pathetic." I was like, I usually think that stuff is like pretty funny. Like I love, being the butt of jokes. I think it's a good time. This guy very easily crossed a boundary of like being genuinely disrespectful to my face.
Were you hurt?
No, it was.
That one stings.
It was just kind of like, wow, that just really went down. That really happened. It was motivating in a way, Can
you paint a picture of who this guy was?
Sure. He was an older gentleman.
What are we talking, 60?
Probably 60s.
Okay.
Yeah, mid-60s. He was walking his dog. So he had a dog there. He had his wife there.
Did he look like he could hoop?
No.
Or ever did?
No, but I think what he was is he was a New York Knicks fan, which, not that I'm on here to slander New York Knicks fans.
No, let's
do
it.
Not
no,
at
let's
all.
Do it.
But it didn't surprise me that he was a New York Knicks fan. I will say. And then Marcus, Mo, and I ended up like having a conversation afterwards, which is one that we as players have had in a variety of different occasions and ways of like, we just can never get over like the audacity of fans.
That's to have the gall to say that to someone's face.
Yeah. It's almost like, what I'm like all for, like, we are entertainers, right? So like if entertainers aren't doing their job or whatever, you don't like an entertainer, it's okay to have an opinion. But like the interesting thing about that is like we weren't in an entertaining environment. Right, like we were in a personal environment. So then when you like, for fans, oftentimes like they aren't able to differentiate between like, this is the person that I enjoy watching playing basketball or not enjoy playing basketball, and then there is also another side of that person that like doesn't play basketball and is just like a human, and like there's an inability to like separate those two. Is what I've learned. And just continue to be fascinated by, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's actually so. I don't want to talk about this yet because I want to hear about how this clinic went. But I was at All-Star Weekend this past weekend.
Oh, you were at All-Star Weekend?
I was.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I imagine most of our listeners know it, considering you were just blasting out to all your followers.
I had to let the people know.
I love that you did.
I had to let the people know.
Yeah, for sure.
Come on.
For sure.
It was a great experience, but my biggest takeaway was just the level of, like, it was a circus. It really, it felt like a circus. And I was sitting next to people who are just screaming at every player that walks by, screaming. And as soon as they get acknowledged, even if it's like a 1-inch chin nod, just almost like legitimately almost pass out. Yeah. It's just the level of fandom, by the way, is great. And it's great for the league and it's important, but it was eye-opening for me just how much of a spectacle this whole thing was. I digress. I want to know more about.
Well, no, I actually want to unpack something there.
All right.
I think, and you can look at it from a couple of different perspectives, but I think the NBA, and I think this is where you have to give the league credit, is it's done an incredible job making an event like that, or just your nightly game, a performance.
Yeah.
And it's very much, everything that encapsulates just a simple basketball game, between the social media production, between the pregame shows, the postgame shows, you go to a game now and like the timeouts and the half times and the in-between quarters, that's as much a part of the entertainment as anything. Like Atlanta, in their arena, they have a barber shop. where you can sit and get a haircut and watch the game. It's like it's been such a concerted effort through so many different levels, right? Like it's the team level, it's the league level, and then also like players individually for like their branding and marketing perspective have also taken on some responsibility of like, I'm going to lean into this entirely, my fan base entirely to make this a performance.
We have a podcast.
And exactly. I have a fucking podcast.
No, it's part of the whole thing.
So I imagine that something like, I wasn't obviously at All-Star Weekend, but I imagine that something like All-Star Weekend is in many ways the culmination of all of that.
It's dialed up to 100. Yeah.
Because it's not like, the finals is for sure, but like the finals is also still about basketball.
Right.
Because it's like, who's the best team in the NBA? All-Star Weekend, you can almost make an argument it's not even about, I mean, you watch the game and it's like, it's interesting because I didn't have a chance to watch the All-Star game live. I watched the highlights and saw everything, but like, depending on who you ask, you get such differing opinions of what that game was. Like you ask some people like, oh, it was terrible. Like nobody plays, blah, 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 whatever. And then you ask other people, it's like, oh, it was insane. Did you see Ja Morant's alley-oops and Steph Curry and all this stuff? And it's like, it really is polarizing in a way, but I think it's working. I mean, I think
for sure
the fandom in the NBA is at an all-time high.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right that it's dialed up to 100 that weekend. It's the cameras everywhere, the prompters and TV screens everywhere. As soon as there's a break in the action, it's people on pogo sticks and dancers running around the court. I mean, it's entertainment dialed up to 10, but it's great and people love it and people care about it. And that's obviously why, I mean, we as fans, I'm putting myself in that category, are the reason that it is this way. I mean, we're the one buying tickets. I spent $1,000 to go watch Saturday night. You know what I mean? Like,
wait, you bought your tickets?
I bought one ticket.
You don't get free tickets, Davis Reid?
I got to go to Friday and Sunday, but I bought Saturday.
You spent $1,000?
Yeah, after taxes and fees.
Goodness gracious.
We're touching the 1,000.
That is quite the investment.
Isn't that insane?
Good
I got to stay in a hotel for free though too.
So it's justified.
Justified expense.
I wanna unpack your weekend shenanigans.
Can we finish I just want to wrap up your All-Star break, your basketball camp. I got to hear about who shows up to this thing.
It was mostly just young children, little kids. Mo and I feel like I'm pretty good at the whole Clinc camp spiel.
Oh yeah.
And I had something prepared, but it ultimately didn't even, like, they were so young and it was so, like, they couldn't really even retain information.
Are we talking like 10 kids?
No, it was like 5.
Oh, beautiful.
It was
you're getting one-on-one time.
Yeah, one-on-one time.
Love it.
Mo was amazing, just really working the room. Really crushed it. And it was honestly, it was a good time.
Yeah.
I in those moments, it was interesting because, like, once again, the resort is not a very busy or frequented place, I guess you could say. But there just weren't a lot of people there. So, like, the turnout was expected to be low. But after the fact, there was, like, great feedback of, like, oh, it was so amazing for my son or blah, 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 to do this. And it's like, just a little subtle reminder of, like, for every guy that there is out there saying that, Mo and I are pathetic or this or that, there are children and kids that appreciate the guidance.
Oh my God, yeah. I mean, you probably made those kids' year.
Yeah, or they'd already forgotten about it.
No, maybe to play basketball with NBA players. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid going to KU's camp, and I was a diehard KU basketball fan, and you would get 10 seconds of interaction with one of the players. And it could have been somebody who never played, and it was like the highlight of
guys.
Yeah. Or it could be, Wayne Simeon or Aaron Miles, and my head explodes. But it's like, those are such special moments.
Aaron Miles, that's a great name.
Aaron Miles. Fun fact, when I was in like 2nd grade, we handed out awards at the end of the year, and the best point guard was the Aaron Miles Award, and I won the Aaron Miles Award. Wow. Yeah, and I wore number 11 I was a huge Aaron Miles.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think we
college basketball is special, especially in those.
Oh my God,
those Midwestern
Kansas,
states.
It's religion. Yeah. KU basketball is religion.
Not just Midwestern states. There's other really good college basketball, but in my experience, those kind of, like, no disrespect, flyover states. That's just what they're called. I don't think that they're flyover states.
Don't do that. You've been to Kansas City.
I've been to Kansas City.
Great city.
I stood at your wedding.
Correct.
I spent a lot of hours in Kansas City.
Magical place.
And I really like Kansas City.
Thank you.
I was just using it as like a way to talk about all of them at once. The college basketball there is just different.
No, it is.
It's like that what's that Indiana saying? It's like in 49 states, it's just basketball, and then there's Indiana. Like, that's a little excessive. Like, settle down. Right?
Yeah, right.
But with that being said, I also envy Indiana high school basketball and how legit that is. Dave, I'm fired up to announce that this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Is there something interfering with your happiness or maybe preventing you from achieving your ultimate goals? BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. I know for me, having a cluttered mind or something on my mind always kind of gets in the way of the physical, and having somebody that I can talk to with that sort of stuff definitely just allows me to be the best version of myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And to do it quickly, you'll be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, Dunc. It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It is professional therapy done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise available, which may not be locally available in many areas. You can log into your account anytime, send messages to your therapist anytime, and you'll get timely, thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions so you won't ever have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room. No one wants to do that, like you may have had to do in the past.
Yeah, I mean, it's like having your own personal therapist. It is like having your own personal therapist right in your pocket. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches so they make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional online therapy, which is important, and financial aid is available if you need it. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life starting today. Visit their website and read their testimonials that are posted daily, like this one. Quote, "I feel less stressed, anxious, and depressed. It's really a great option for anyone looking for affordable help." End quote. Visit BetterHelp.com/LS. That's better, HELP, and join the over 2 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are recruiting additional therapists in all 50 states. Special offer for Long Shot fans. Get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.com/LS. Better your life today. Let's talk about your weekend shenanigans.
A little bit.
It sounds like you got active.
I mean, it was a great time. And here's the thing. I was wide-eyed. It was my first All-Star weekend. Yeah. It was a ton of fun. I got to say, though, we ran into some people. We talked to some people. And the general consensus was that Cleveland was a little underwhelming, I think, as a city.
Really?
And I had a good time. Once again, I want to be very clear. I'm not taking a shot at Cleveland. It was very cold. It was very windy. And it's just maybe not enough infrastructure to host something like an All-Star weekend.
I see both sides of the argument of it's a great opportunity for small market teams, because I think next year it's in Indy.
Yeah. Salt Lake
next year and then Indy.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I think it's a great opportunity for small market teams to generate revenue and get people to their cities. But then at the same time, it's also like, why don't they just do it in Vegas every year?
Right.
Or like
LA.
I understand like it's hard to do it in LA every year because that's like an advantage. You could say competitive advantage for those teams, but like Vegas doesn't have a team yet.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see if they end up getting one, but like that seems like it would just be something that everybody could get behind.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. Because it is.
And they have the infrastructure. Like you said, once again, I'm not a hotel snob, but if you're getting all these, I know guys that are, I'll say that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so it's like you get all these guys in this one city. I think Cleveland probably has one or two nice hotels.
Yeah.
And those just get to capacity very quickly.
So once again, I was very fortunate. It was your people that took care of me, your agent and your agency. I was down there with them. We got to stay in one of the nicer hotels. I
think it's also your agency at this point too. You're pseudo represented.
Yeah, pseudo.
Okay.
I got to stay there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever. I got to stay there for a couple nights. One night I had to get my own hotel, and it was like the only option was something 20 minutes outside of the city.
Like a La Quinta.
Yeah, for $300. You know what I mean? Yikes. It was like, it just wasn't. Calling an Uber was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Everything's a half-hour wait. So that was the shitty part, but it was a ton of fun. It was a blast.
What were the post game or post event activities like? If you're picking up what I'm putting down.
So the whole basketball community is there. Media, players. I mean, obviously, it's the best of the best are there. On top of that, you've got the NBA 75.
Right.
So you legitimately have the entire basketball universe minus Duncan and Mo, who are giving kids a lesson in Turks and Caicos.
Big time clinic
in Cleveland, which is just amazing. So yeah, there was some nightlife. Actually, I got to tell you a story. So nightlife was great. It was tough because, again, you can't really call Ubers, and it's really cold and really windy. So you've got to basically battle the elements if you want to go anywhere.
You're built for that, though.
And I'm talking about me. Now, granted, I think, if LeBron wants to go somewhere, he probably has people who are getting him a car.
It's called a Sprinter van.
Yeah. And he's probably not running into as many issues.
No.
But, look, in any other scenario, if you were invited to the 3-point contest, then you'd have been there with me, and I probably would have had an easier time getting around and getting into places. But let's just call it what it is. When I'm there without you, it's a little bit harder to get on the list. It's a little bit harder to get into where we need to go. But me and one of our friends, who will remain anonymous on the podcast, I think, is for now. We were looking for something to do Sunday after the All-Star game. It's kind of the last night, we want to go out with a bang. So we're bouncing around, we're looking, we get word that there's this one club / bar where that's where the people are.
It's going down.
Yeah, it's that's where you need to be. Anybody who's anybody, that's where you need to be. So our friend, what he does is he throws on all black tee, black jeans, black suit jacket. So he looks the part.
Yeah.
He looks like he's important. He also could probably get away with looking like he works as a bouncer at.
Right. I was going to say, what is that lane that he's trying to
I think it's playing both, which is, he's a little overdressed, but in a good way.
Yeah.
But also kind of blends in with staff at that point.
Sure.
So there's a line to get into this place, and he walks right up to the bouncer, was fully prepared with a speech of how we were going to get in. Bouncer asked no questions. He saw the suit. For some reason, he saw me with him. I was not looking the part. And we waved us right in. We walked right in.
Love that.
So we're off to a great start. Now, that was only part one, though. Part two of the night was, we're now in the place to be, but it's clear that to really get to the place to be, there's another barrier we need to get through. There's the back room. There's always the back room.
A room within a room.
So now we start game planning. How are we going to get back there? I see Travis Kelce. I'm a Kansas City guy. I see Kelce back there. We see a couple other guys back there.
Name drop.
No, we're going to see some other guys. We see some other guys back there. And so it's very clear, okay, this is where we need to go. So our friend starts texting me. I'm with him. I'm standing right next to him. He starts texting me, is it okay if we go to the back room? Is it okay if we go to the back room? And I'm looking at my phone and I'm not responding. We're far enough away now at this point where we're not communicating. It's loud in there, but we're looking at each other. I'm like, what is going on? So finally I reply, yeah, of course. I thought he was asking me if I was okay to do it.
Right.
So what he did was, and I don't condone this behavior, but
you were a part of it.
If you're looking for
at some point
for everyone out there who is looking for ways to finesse, take notes. What he did was, we then, because of you, and because we're affiliated with you, we get kind of tapped into important networks.
Sure.
And so this person happened to have the manager of the club's information in his phone. And so or his name, he was aware of his name. So what he did was he just simply changed my contact to this person's name. He then walks right up to the bouncer.
It's cheeky.
Shows him the phone. Bouncer looks at the phone, scrolls through the texts, which that was where it started to get alarming. Because if you really looked in detail, you would clearly see that this is two friends talking about things that are not. But he flips through the text real quickly and then waves us both in.
Oh my goodness.
We walk right back into the kind of elusive, majestic back room. And what do we see as soon as we get in? Guy Fieri behind the bar, arm wrestling somebody. Followed by, he wins the arm wrestle, followed by porn shots for everybody back there. And the two of us just looked at each other and we thought, yeah, this is where we're supposed to be.
This is Did you get a shot poured for you by Guy Fieri?
I did. Yeah.
That's special.
And I just want to be clear, that's not the moral of the story, that's not where it's leading. The point is, we showed some grit,
Yeah.
And we made things
Didn't
happen.
take no for an answer.
Yeah.
That's special.
It was a blast.
Yeah, it's a true long shot story.
Honestly, it is.
You guys, it's very safe to say
Yeah.
that you guys, when you were standing outside that bar, were long shots to not only get in the place, but certainly get into that background.
I now fit the mold. We've always talked about how I haven't really had the long shot story. You know, growing up in like upper middle class suburbia, sort of had everything I ever needed to be successful. You know, great schools, parents that sort of gave me everything I needed to. So you know, it's not like I've overcome that many obstacles. Sunday night, there were some obstacles that needed to be, taken down, and we found a way to do it.
It sounds like you were just kind of just along for the ride, riding coattails in some respects.
For sure. Credit goes to our friend. Who knows who he is? Listens to the podcast.
Give me some other takeaways from All-Star Weekend.
It was really great. I mean, I had a couple takeaways. One of which was like, what did J.R. Smith do in this city? But I had some others, like I got to see some people, I got to meet some people in person that we've had on the podcast or that I've met virtually, which was great. We saw Shams, I got to see Tyrese. It was like, so
you were out there just rubbing elbows.
That was the whole point of the weekend.
Funny enough, I actually got multiple texts from just various kind of random people on our staff, Miami
Quinny,
Heat.
I got to meet Quinny.
Just reaching out, like, oh, ran into your boy Davis. Like, so great to see. Like, you're making inroads, man. Like,
I will say this, on a serious note, I will say this. It was the whole point of the weekend was to go down there, get to experience it, get to see it, and get to be in that environment. And what was really cool for me, and we've talked about this, is I've always just been your friend in these settings, you know, like, oh, this is my boy. And I'm still that. And we do this podcast because of that. But
that's not true. We do this podcast because you do a good job.
Well, no. But it started because of that. And I'm still that. But it was really cool to be in that setting and have some, like, you know, I meet people like Shams, or I met Woj, which was awesome. And these people know about the podcast. I mean, Woj tweeted about the podcast in case anybody forgot about it. So it was cool to have, like, it felt like I actually belonged to be there, which was really cool, which was great.
It's there's very much levels to this, so don't think that I'm drawing this direct comparison. But like the same way that obviously LeBron put on Rich Paul, you know, he did. He put on Rich Paul. He made sure. I think there's a story somewhere of like how he made sure Rich Paul was like doing his due diligence and like being still qualified. Obviously, he had to get agent certified and all that sort of stuff. But like he didn't just choose Rich Paul because he's his boy. He chose Rich Paul because he thought Rich Paul could do a good job. Now, once again, there's very much levels to this.
Are you saying I'm Rich Paul of podcasting?
Well, the same way that Rich Paul has taken that opportunity from LeBron and run with it entirely, you have done the same. Once again, I'm not equating myself to LeBron, and I'm not equating you to Rich Paul.
The analogy stands.
There's some sort of, and who's to say we're in what, year 1.5?
Not even.
Of this thing?
1.1.
You know, Rich Paul's got 18 years under his belt.
Guy's dating Adele.
Yeah. 18. I heard they're on the rocks a little bit. Is that true? Well. Anyways, he's got 18 years under his belt. Who's to say what you can and can't do in
Rogan
15, 16, 17, 18 years?
It's true. And this All-Star Weekend was the first step of rubbing elbows.
You know, we talk about reference points.
Sure.
And we talk about building confidence and resolve over long stretches of time. It sounds like this could very much be a reference point. Something that is a springboard for your future success.
No, it could be. Here was another one of my takeaways.
Yeah.
It's strange to watch NBA players rise up onto a stage like they're Justin Timberlake, you know, performing at Staples Center. And it reminded me that you did that. You came out on the stage for the 3-point contest.
Yeah, I did.
Were you uncomfortable? Because most of these guys looked uncomfortable. They didn't really know what to do. I
was entirely uncomfortable. It's weird because, you know, and maybe you can attest this because you were just there, but like, it's kind of a packed venue, or at least it was in Chicago when I was there, but it's not like a raucous crowd.
Right.
Everyone's kind of subdued and just kind of chilling.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's weird because like you walk out and it's not like you're walking out to this ovation of people, like, you know, then you can get like, oh, the crowd's feeling me, like, give me some feedback, like let me lean into it. Like, no. You're just like out there and like no matter what you do, you're just kind of getting like a melodramatic, like just kind of chilling.
Yes. Unless you're vibe. LeBron in Cleveland.
Yeah, for sure. Like obviously, yeah, I don't know what that's like. I don't know that experience.
You're right. It's not starting lineups when they're listing off the 3-point contestants.
Yeah, it's
people are golf clapping.
Exactly. If that, like, I would imagine most people are probably disinterested.
Yeah.
Honestly, at least for like the announcing, like, cool, they're announcing the players that are about to shoot.
Right.
Like,
We already know who's,
but I mean, and not to mention 3-point shooting, there's 8 guys or 10 guys or whatever it is. So like by the 7th, 8th guy, it's like, what do you expect? Is this like a resounding applause? Like, probably not going to happen.
Now, Darius Garland and Evan Mobley or Jared
got a lot
Allen
of love.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cool to be participating in All-Star Weekend, or All-Stars in your hometown team. It's pretty cool.
No, it's great. One more thing about you on stage. I went back and watched the film this morning from your 3-point contest.
Why would you do that?
Well, because I had this thought of like, God, NBA players on a stage, it doesn't look comfortable. And you didn't look very comfortable either. But I have a suggestion. I think what the mistake you made was you didn't dap anybody up. Like, you came out and just kind of stood next to, who was it? Devin Booker and Trae Young, maybe? I think you go for the dap up. It just makes it look a little more fluid.
Yeah, well, those guys are like my brothers, man. You know?
Exactly. That's my point.
You know,
that's my brother, man.
And I, we go way back.
That's my brother for real, man.
That's my brother for real. Yeah, I mean, I probably a missed opportunity. And I'm like joking, but, you know, there is somewhat of a fraternity. Like, obviously, I could dap up Devin Booker and Trae Young if I so chose.
Of course.
But, yeah, we don't really have the rapport where it's like that's just expected, you know?
Yeah.
If I was standing up there with you, I'd dap you up.
Oh, thank you.
Probably put my arm around you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, maybe.
Would you, if we got in a tussle, would you slap me across the face like Juwan did?
That's an interesting transition.
How about that? That was pretty smooth.
So
right?
Davis is really eager to talk about this one.
No, that's not true.
Well, it just seems like you just kind of brought it up.
Well, I want your opinion on it, and I'm working on my segues. How'd I do?
Segue could have been better. The Juwan thing. I mean, yeah. Look, this is a heavy one.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't need you to.
No. I'm very much willing to speak on it. I think that, mind you, I was not watching the game live.
Yeah.
One thing I did do when I was on my little vacation was turn off my phone, unplug my phone, just like leave it on airplane mode. I was not, no TV, nothing. Like, I was just gonna, remove myself from all electronics,
as you should,
and the craziness of the world that I just kind of feel like I live in, quite honestly. But anyways, when I turned my phone back on, that was the thing I had the most text about.
Yeah.
Juwan Howard.
Yeah, I believe it.
So many people sent me the clip. So many people, what's going to happen? Is he fired? Is this? Is that? Whatever. And like, I will admit, it was pretty jarring when I first watched it.
Yeah.
Very much after the fact. It was like, wow, that really escalated. I think it's a super complex situation. I'll start by saying, obviously, just generally unfortunate that it ended up happening. What ended up happening happened, and that at no point, particularly in college basketball, I think the NBA actually is a little bit different, because it's like, look, they're grown men. You can find them accordingly, and we can move on.
Yeah.
I think college is like a little bit trickier, and maybe it necessarily shouldn't be, but like, because we're like dying on this hill of amateurism and whatever, which is its own
shifting away from that a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, like, it's not really a conversation that needs to be had right now.
Yeah.
But like, if we are going to treat them like they're kids or whatever, in comes like the example setting side of it. Yeah. And if you're quote unquote the adults in the room, obviously it's not a good look to be doing that. But with that being said, like, there were multiple escalators in the situation.
For sure.
And, from what I could, from the vantage point that I was at, which is once again just watching it on my phone, is like, Juwan clearly looked like he was just trying to move on and not engage. And all of a sudden hands are placed on him. And, if you're a man and hands get placed on you, you have, there's grown man, there's some complications there.
For sure.
And it doesn't necessarily surprise me. I think that can like warrant a reaction, maybe not all the way to that extent, but it's tricky at that point. And look, I know Juwan personally. I played for him, when I was in Miami. I love Juwan. He's truly, and I've said this publicly, like, he's one of the best people, most genuinely caring people that I've ever met, especially for a coach of his stature. I'm sure he probably regrets the decision. But with that being said, I don't actually think that it's any sort of an indictment on his character. Like I think he's a special dude and a special coach. And as a Michigan alum and fan of the program, I hope that he's the one that can continue to lead them to Final Fours and national championships and Big Ten championships and so on and so forth. Obviously, I know there's all these people coming out saying, kind of calling for his head. I haven't seen or found any Michigan people close to the situation that have felt that way.
Yeah. But, no, I think it's all fair. And I'll just say, I think there's so much hypocrisy from the people calling for his head. Like, those are the same people that revel in the rivalry of college basketball and revel in the aggression that their players bring and play with. And we love when guys are physical with, like, you can't celebrate all these things and then not comprehend how in the arena your emotions get the best of you. And obviously, if you were to put rules in writing, a coach shouldn't hit another coach would be like, no one would disagree about that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously what he did was wrong, but it's like, you also have to understand the situation. He feels threatened. He feels like his kids are being threatened. His emotions get the best of him. He comes out and apologizes. Like, yes, unacceptable, sure. But you can understand, at least I think you can have a little empathy and understand how it gets to that point. And then, we move on. So I get it.
I would like to move on. I'm sure he would like to move on. And obviously, he was given a hefty suspension. It's not like they gave him a game or two. The rest of the regular season. And unfortunately for Michigan fans, it doesn't seem like there's going to be much of a postseason. Not that
we can go on a run.
Yeah, we could always go on a run. 100%.
Who knows? We could wear our practice jerseys in round one and we could go on a run.
Baby. We're best in March. You know what it is. But anyways, that's pretty much all I got on the Juwan thing.
That's fair. I appreciate you speaking on it. I was genuinely, we hadn't talked about it. I was curious about your take on it.
It's interesting how we haven't talked about it, and yet you choose the public forum that is this podcast to first dive into it. Interesting.
I mean, look, you could have declined and we could have moved on. I
suppose.
Yeah, I was just curious. All right, quickly, I want to give you flowers because it's your favorite part of the podcast. And I told you every 100 until 1,000 we're doing this. Quickest to 700. Another one.
Man. Thank you for my flowers. What kind of flowers are they this time?
It's just acknowledging them. These are tulips.
Tulips?
Yeah.
It's not my favorite, but I'll allow it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give the same speech that I give every single time.
No, you don't even need to address it.
500, 600, whatever it is, 700. I will say, I do hope that I'm the first to 1,000.
Yeah.
So I'll say that.
How about this? I'm going to do 800, I'm going to do 900, of course, we're going to do 1,000. We'll then stop until 1,500. 2,000. We'll start going every 500.
I like that.
That seems reasonable.
That's fair.
Okay.
That seems
fair. But until we get to 1,000, each of these 100 markers are dude, how sick is that? Fastest ever? I get we're shooting more threes than ever.
Games played by.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I saw something that when Steph Curry was my age, I think he already had 1,500.
Well, he'd already played. It's different.
That's true. I appreciate you being in my corner.
What can you do other than fastest games? Like, it is kind of your fault. You did 14 years of college, but
it is my fault that I did 5 years of high school and 5 years of college. It's not my fault, but
two high school diplomas, baby.
True.
You and me both.
I should have 2 college diplomas, and I don't.
What? Why?
Well, I should just have like a graduate degree. I did 5 years of college.
You dropped the ball on that?
Yeah, I was a multi-major though. I was political science and
not as cool as 2 degrees.
Sport management, but. Anyways,
cool as 2 degrees.
You got anything else?
Not really. Do you want to do a question or anything?
Let's do one, yeah, and then we'll keep it moving.
What do you think? Do you want to talk about if you lay in bed at night and think about basketball?
Sure.
Okay. So this question came from Evan.
Your brother?
We'll leave it discreet.
Shout out to Evan Reid.
I'll say this. It came to me via text from an Evan. Are we getting lazy here? Are we getting comfortable? He asked this question and I actually thought it was funny, so I wanted to ask you. Okay. He texted me and he said, I had a bad men's league game tonight and I was laying in bed all night thinking about it. Couldn't go to sleep. it lingers. And I have certainly been in that scenario where this past last summer, I missed a game winner. A layup, like a naked layup.
Oh dear!
And I was playing with my brother and his friends, so I was like the outsider. It was like it was their group
the guy
and me
that got brought to the game,
right? Yeah. But I was playing well, and so down 1, they decided to put the ball in my hands, and I get to a spot. I'm going left. I get a layup that I will make,
like uncontested.
there was someone in the area, but I knew he wasn't going to block the, like I knew I was going to get it off in time. Missed it. We lose. And it ate at me for, I'm not kidding, a week. I thought about it. And look, I realize this
sounds like a personal problem.
I realize this is a problem.
Maybe it should be addressed between you and a professional.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm in the right here, but I am curious because you play way more. I think what it is I just don't play a lot of basketball now. So when things like this happen, I don't have another men's league game next week. You are playing every other night. If you have a performance that you deem lackluster,
for sure.
Do you lay in bed and think about it all night? How long do these things linger? Have you learned how to deal with that?
Absolutely. It's a double-edged sword of the NBA is that there is always another game. And it's usually overwhelmingly a positive thing, but like whether you play well or play poorly, there's probably another game, if not the next night, the night after that. But with that being said, I think all players carry with them the burden of particularly not playing well. Myself, I'll just speak for myself. Of course, if I have a bad shooting night or whatever, the rest of that night, absolutely wearing it and looking through it and watching film and figuring out, and sometimes it's like there's nothing to figure out. It's just like the ball didn't go in, whatever. But like still, you're gonna, or at least I'm gonna like try to turn over every stone and figure out if there is something. And then the flip side of that is like then the next morning, it's not like you're Men in Black,
right?
Whatever you're getting, whatever that thing is, memory deleted. You still think about it the next morning. Now, once you start preparing for another team, then you're able to kind of like that helps you kind of cope. It's like getting over an ex.
I was gonna say this is relatable to other facets of life for sure.
It's another opportunity, and you also start to gain the perspective of like, okay, if I keep living, don't forget, right? Like learn, don't forget, but you got to start to move forward in some capacity. Otherwise, you're just gonna be detrimental to your performance moving forward. So like there has to be some sort of like moving on and moving forward.
No better teacher than failure.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, that's the thing. It's a challenge. It's a great challenge of the NBA. And I've actually lived it in both instances. I've lived it where it's worked to my benefit, where I played really poorly and, there's another game, obviously. I go out, play better, able to like wipe it clean. I've also had the alternative of like you play well, confidence, this, that, or whatever. Maybe it's first night of a back-to-back, second night you don't play well, and then all of a sudden, you had 2 games. Maybe for that 2-game stretch, you shot, 7 of 20. Okay, which is a little bit below 40% from 3, or maybe it's 8 of 20 exactly. And one of the games you shot well, one of the games you didn't. You aren't able to have the perspective of like, oh, I took 10 threes a game and made 4 of them. That's 40% on high volume over 2 games. That's pretty damn good. You're just only caught up in like that last game. I went 2 for 10. Which everything just requires context and the context in which it exists, which is, what it's all about is just continuing to kind of build the resolve and consistency. Because that's what, people say it's the mark of a champion, consistency.
Brick by brick.
Brick by brick.
That's why I like the question. It turned into a little long thoughty. You know what I mean?
I like that. There was a little bit more there than meets the eye. Wow. I guess you could say.
How beautiful.
Anyways, that'll wrap up this episode.
Yeah, we got to go to dinner.
We both had, I wouldn't say busy weekends, but weekends that we just wanted to unpack a little bit. And like I said, we'll be back next week with a very special guest.
We have 2 ones we're really excited about.
Yeah, these next couple of weeks are great. That's part of the reason why I'm in New York now is we were able to bank some episodes.
Hint, they're both in person.
They're both in person, and they're both going to be fantastic.
And they're both outside of basketball.
Which is fun. We're heading into uncharted territory.
Come on now.
For the Long Shot podcast.
Watch us spread our wings.
Which is a great place. It's a great place to be. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
As always.